Howdy, how's it going? It's your boy TN Smooth back here with another video today. And today we are doing my Week 10 Top 25 poll for college football. I am going to go in and put up last week's poll right now. So this is my Week 9 Top 25. So go ahead and take a second to look at that. And then you're going to see how it changed here in a second. I will tell you number 17, 19, and 24, so Syracuse, Kentucky, and South Carolina are both out of my top 25. I'm going to go ahead and pop up on the board my top 25 for Week 10. And there it is. So you got, a lot of mix-up here. I mean, really, even in the top, top five, the only two teams that switched was Tennessee and Ohio State. And then you got some teams coming in this week, all down here towards the bottom, 23, 24, 25. I got UCF coming in, I got Louisville coming in, and I got Oregon State coming in. UCF had a good win this last week. They had a good win over, correction. They didn't have a game this last week. They did, actually. It was Cincinnati. My bad. So they beat Cincinnati. They're ranked in the AP poll as well. But Cincinnati, and the reason that the confusion for that is whenever you look it up, for some reason their last game was yesterday, but it had it up at the top instead of down at the bottom. So it gets confusing there. But UCF did have a game, or else I wouldn't even have put them in. I don't put people in to the top 25 after they've had a bye week, unless I have a lot of teams that come out and I need to put some new teams in or whatever, and they're receiving votes already, whatnot, then they might come in. UCF came in because they beat Cincinnati, who was ranked at the time. Cincinnati has fell out of my poll as well, if I didn't mention them falling out. I don't think I mentioned them either. Yeah, so actually, that's four teams that fell out there. So Cincinnati did fall out. And also coming into this week's poll is Kansas State. I forgot to mention that. Yep, at 15. They're so far up there. Usually I don't put teams in that far ahead. Literally, they weren't in the poll last week, and then this week they're in the poll at 15. And the reason why for that, really, they should have been in my poll last week. It's just a team that I kind of overlooked. They had a dominant win over Oklahoma State. So 48-0. So they definitely deserve to be ranked. Again, they were ranked at, a little earlier in the year, but they definitely deserve to be ranked again. I got them in at number 15 there. Like I said, UCF beat Cincinnati. That's how they found their way in. And then Louisville, they're another team that I brought in here. They had a good win as well against Wake Forest, who was, I believe, number like 10 or 11 at the time. And in my poll, I think they were 10 or 11 as well. So they had a good win over them, 48-21. So Louisville comes in at number 24 there. At number 25, Oregon State finds their way in. Oregon State, I believe they actually were on a bye week last week, and they kind of just came in because neither one of those teams to come in. They came in on the AP poll as well. They were receiving votes last week in the AP poll, and just kind of one of them teams that come in. They've had some good wins this year over Colorado, Stanford. They did lose to UCS in Utah, but overall they have had a pretty successful season. Currently, I believe they're sitting at 6-2 on the season. So, yeah, I just confirmed that 6-2 on the season. So, Oregon State playing some good ball, and they come in there at number 25. NC State bumps up, I believe. Or, no, I had them exactly where they were. That's right. They had a bye week, so I kind of just left them where they were. No, they did not, actually. Thursday. They played on Thursday, so that's confusion there. They only beat Virginia Tech 22-21 there. So they do come in at number 22. And then Liberty, they stay in at number 21. I had them at 25 at the beginning of the year, or last week, that is, and they come up to number 21. Kind of just because we had a lot of teams that came down out of the tens range. So Liberty kind of just found their way bumping up. A lot of teams were. LSU's another one. Penn State. They bumped down, but not as far as they probably would have if those other teams would have won closer to the top there. Liberty has been playing some good ball lately as well. They had a bye week this last week, but they did beat BYU the week before. They will play Arkansas this week, so if they can win that game, then they could find themselves bumping up a little bit more. But Liberty is number 21 this week, so we'll see what they can do against Arkansas. But as of now, I've got them at 21. Tulane. So Tulane's one of them teams that some people might disagree with them being ranked. Some people might like it. Whatever the case may be, they've played good ball. They beat Memphis. They've beat Houston. They've even beat Kansas State. And Kansas State blew out Oklahoma State, who was in the top 10. So Tulane, they found themselves at number 20 there. And I believe it's pretty much justified. Wake Forest. Wake Forest had a win over their last. Well, they actually lost to Louisville, but their last win was over Boston College, 43-15 in that one. But last week or this week they took the L against Louisville, so 21-48 was the score in that one. Louisville found their way in. Wake Forest didn't go down as far as they possibly could have, but I bumped them down to number 19 there. I felt like that was justified. Oklahoma State, they're another one. Let's see, they were about number. I think I had them at number 9 last week on my poll, and then this week they just got smacked 48-0 against Kansas State. So they bumped down, and I think it's fully justified in that one. Penn State, they played, as we all know, they played Ohio State, and they lost in that one 44-31. Now, they did give Ohio State a run for their money. They did play good ball. I believe they played really good ball, actually, and they did give Ohio State a run for their money. So I didn't bump them down as far. I just bumped down to number 17 there. LSU, they had a bye week, so they kind of just go up by default. I had them at 18 last week. This week, they jump up to 16. Kansas State, they come in off of a huge win. So they come in at number 15. Kind of touched on that a little bit earlier. They had a huge win over Oklahoma State, 48-0. So they come in there at number 15 for this week. North Carolina, they had a good win, 42-24 over Pittsburgh. So they jump up a few spots, quite a few spots, and I bumped a bunch of teams down. Oklahoma State, Wake Forest, Penn State came down. So with those teams coming down, I mean, North Carolina kind of had to go up. Nowhere to go but up. So they had a good win over Pittsburgh, ACC team versus ACC team. They won 42-24, so they come up to number 14 there for this week. Illinois, they had a win over Nebraska, 26-9, so they come up as well. They're in at number 13. Ole Miss, I believe, did not have a game this week. I could possibly be wrong, though. Oh, no, they did have a game. That's right. They had a game against Texas A&M and barely won it, 31-28. Really, they should have beat them worse than that, but they didn't. So they didn't jump up too far. They're in at number 12 there. They only have one loss on the season, but they should have beat Texas A&M by more. Ole Miss is in at number 12 there for this week. UCS, they had a win over Arizona, unranked team. It is a team that only has three wins on the year. So I did put them in at number 11. Didn't bump them up as far as I could have. I've actually bumped Utah up over them. Just because UCS, I mean, 45 points is a lot in a game, yeah, but they allow 37 to Arizona. So just bump them up to number 11. Utah, They had a game on Thursday. They beat Washington State 21-17. Really should have beat them by more than that, but I'll put them in at number 10 for this week. Now UCLA took a big jump from last week. UCLA had a win against Stanford 38-13, and they're in at number 9 for this week. Oregon, they had a win over California 42-24. They're in at number 8. TCU, they're one of them teams that still really could potentially make the college football playoff. You know, all it's going to take is for some of the top teams to lose. And Tennessee and Georgia play each other this week. Ohio State and Michigan's going to play each other at the end of the year. So really, that could switch a lot of things up right there. Two of those teams could fall out, and then you could see, Michigan coming in, or you could see Clemson coming in, and then maybe Bama, or if Bama maybe loses another one to Auburn or whatever. Not saying that they will, just saying if they did, TCU could really find themselves in the college football playoffs. So they're still in for it, and I have them in at number 7 for this week. They had a win over West Virginia, 41-31. Alabama had a bye week, so I kind of just left them at number 6 by default. You could really switch TCU and Alabama. TCU's undefeated, so if you move them at number 6, then all the top 6 teams would be undefeated. So really, you could move them there if you wanted. Alabama did have a bye week, so they could have got bumped down for that, and then TCU had a win. Whatever. It's only 10-point win to me, so I really didn't see a need in switching Bama with TCU there. So I got TCU at 7 and then Alabama at 6. At number 5, I got Clemson. Clemson had I believe that they had a bye week this week. Yes, they did. Clemson was on a bye week. Next week they will play Notre Dame, and then they'll finish the season out with Louisville, Miami, and South Carolina. So very, very possible that they could go undefeated. We'll see, though, because Louisville, they're not ranked in the AP poll, but they are ranked in the only poll that matters, and that is the T and Smooth poll. So we'll see. We'll see how they do against Louisville this week. Then we got the Michigan Wolverines. They did beat Michigan State 29-7, so they stay in at number 4. We know Ohio State, they beat Penn State, so they stay in at number 3. Well, they were at 2. I did bump them down to 3, and I bumped Tennessee up to 2 because of Tennessee's win over Kentucky. They beat them 44-6. Yeah, it was at home. Yeah, it was at night, but to me, that was more impressive. Off of the top 3 or 4 teams, I'm going by most impressive, really the top 3. So if Ohio State came in and had a super impressive win, let's say they played, I don't really know their schedule throughout the rest of the year, but let's say they played Alabama and destroyed them, 50-20 or whatever, and Tennessee and Georgia both had close wins over non-ranked opponents, then I would put Ohio State number 1, at least for that week. Really, it starts mattering towards the end of the year. I know this is getting towards the end of the year, but I felt like switching them was really justified. Last week it wasn't, and I thought about switching them then, but then when Ohio State beat Iowa 54-10, and Tennessee allowed 24 points from, granted that was their 3rd or 4th string defense, but still yet, I left them there for that week. But then this week, they've held Kentucky to only 6 points. Their defense played really good. Yeah, I'm a Tennessee fan, but I try to look at this in a non-biased way. Even in the AP poll, Tennessee and Ohio State are tied for 2nd. And then in some of the polls, it has Tennessee, even though they're still tied, it will have Tennessee above Ohio State. Like if you look up the AP poll, that's how it has it right now. It has Tennessee above Ohio State, but they're still tied for 2nd. So both has a 2 by their name. Really, it doesn't matter because Tennessee plays Georgia this week, so that's going to settle the debate anyway. Because if Tennessee loses, even if they were left at number 3, they would probably bump down 1 or 2 or 3 spots, whatever. And if Tennessee wins, then they'll obviously probably be number 1. So really, after this week, it's going to probably switch anyway. But for this week, I got Ohio State at 3, Tennessee at 2, and then Georgia, they had a bye week. So I think that they had a bye week. I'm going to double check that. I don't know. They did not. They played Florida. That's right. They already had their bye week. So Georgia played Florida and beat them 42-20. I remember that now. So Georgia stays at number 1 there. And that's basically the poll for this week. Georgia 1, Tennessee 2, Ohio State 3, and then Michigan 4. The college football playoff rankings does come out this week, Tuesday at 7 p.m. EST time. And by this ranking right here, you see who my top 4 would be. If it ended right now today in the playoffs, I would have Georgia versus Michigan, and I would have Tennessee versus Ohio State. And then the winner takes on the winner of the other game in the championship. But that's been this Week 10 Top 25 poll. Sorry, I was distracted a lot of the time. But comment down below. Let me know if you disagree. Let me know why you disagree. Where you think that team should be ranked and why. And yeah, make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video. This has been your boy T and Smooth saying peace.